Welcome back to another episode of Just My Opinion. Before we continue, I just want to put this up for a second. Okay, I'll give you a second to read that more. Okay, and then we're good. Okay, so today's movie is Mickey 17. I just want to start off by saying the critics are wrong. Okay? All the preferred critics that said that this was a really great film and that it's inspiring. And first off, this is in no way an original film. No way. Because I don't consider putting movies in a blender and just blending them all up as original films. I consider that very, not... I don't consider that original. I don't consider the blender mentality of just, let's take this movie, and this movie. Like, basically, this movie, here's the thing. This movie is basically Avatar mixed with Mute with Moon. It's basically Avatar, Moon, and that scene from Mute, but I will get to that. So, like Moon, Mickey 17 has a guy who clones him. Okay, so the plot of the movie is basically, I forget what his name from Twilight was. Put that in the comments. But the guy from Twilight essentially signs up for this this experimental job on the spaceship run by Mark Ruffalo, where essentially he keeps getting reprinted. So every time he dies, he gets another version of himself. It's basically, again, it's just Moon. Moon did that exact same thing. Moon had where Rockwell, every time he died, they cloned him on a space planet. The only thing they didn't have was the AI in this. And again, maybe that was a contradiction in itself, but I don't know. But involving who voiced the AI, and maybe they didn't want to put that in there because of things that happened with that guy. Anyway, the point is that so we basically have, so he gets printed every single time that he dies. And they do the montage of, oh, he dies by sickness, he dies by this, he dies by sickness, and monster, and the usual, like what they would have done with Moon if it was written by Rick and Morty writers. So it's like, we've seen even the idea of repeating your death multiple times, and it's supposed to be like, oh, funny, he doesn't care that he died anymore. We've seen in Russian Doll, we've seen in Edge of Tomorrow, and we've even seen in Groundhog Day. In a lot of ways too. So like, even he dies multiple times and then he's just like, all right, let's get this over with. We've seen. So the reason why he's in this spaceship and why he's decided to be the one that every time he dies he gets cloned is because, I'm gonna call it cloning from now on, because the human printing is just basically cloning. I know the writer thinks he's being clever by calling it something else, but it's just cloning. So the reason why he's decided to do the cloning thing is him and his buddy owe a mob boss some money for some business they had where, like, macaroons were supposed to sell better than cheeseburgers. I don't know. Again, watch the movie. Tell me that's not what's said. And so he basically decides to go, him and his buddy decide to go to space because they're being chased by the mob boss on Earth. Turns out the mob boss doesn't really matter until like the last 20 minutes of the film, where they decide, okay, there's apparently an agent who works with the mob boss on the spaceship, but that's only there just so then he can give his friend, who right here I will bring up, right here, Stephen Young. I'm sure I'm not saying that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. And if I am, see, I can. So basically we have, he's not important to the script. He really isn't. You could cut him out and just have Mickey be the one that owes money to him. You could seriously say, because Mickey's not smart. So you could say, you know, like macaroons are better than burgers, and have him say that, and you believe it because he's not that smart. This guy comes, you know, this guy at least comes across like he's savvy when it comes to like piloting things. And even though they make such a big deal about how he's a pilot and stuff, we never actually see him driving or flying anything. We never see that. What we see is just him talking to Mickey for probably a total of 3 scenes. He finds out that there's an agent of the mob boss in space with them, because I guess the mob boss knew that this one spaceship that was going to launch off with a bunch of... I'll get to what I feel about the spaceship and its crew in a second, but and he basically finds out the mob boss has an agent on the spaceship. He kills the mob boss's agent and then testifies against him. The end. The end. That's literally the end. Do I think mob bosses chasing people through space is a good plot? Sure. Do they focus on it all? No. They have decided that it does not matter, that it only matters when they need filler. He only matters when they don't know anything with their other plots. So, speaking of the other plots, which, my gosh, there are many of them. There are many of them. There's even a plot around how the thing came to be here. I know it looks like an MRI machine, but it's basically a cloning machine. Is what it is. I know they tried to make it more, sci-fi by calling it human printer, but it's a cloning machine. That's what it is. It clones him. That's what it is. So basically the backstory behind that is this guy here essentially has decided, and thank you Getty Images for this, this guy is the creator of it. He has apparently decided to randomly kill homeless people, because I don't know why. Again, you could have cut this part out and just mean nothing. Because again, you could just say, we invented cloning, and it's not legal on... Basically, the premise is, the reason why we have to do the cloning in space instead of on Earth is because its creator essentially was using the clones as alibis to kill random homeless people. So, Ruffalo's character... in a Senate hearing, essentially, and I know it's called something else, but tell me it's not that. So in a Senate hearing, he basically just somehow, even though he's not a politician, somehow is able to sway the committee to essentially just allow it only in space, and then if there's any multiples of any, they get killed. Which again would be a great plot in itself had Blade Runner not done it. And even this guy with the killing of homeless people, they dedicate like a couple minutes to this, and I gotta say, I don't care. I don't care that like the scientist who made it is cloning and killing the homeless man or something. First off, because it just feels like randomness. It really does. It just feels like randomness for the sake of randomness. So then we get to... Ruffalo. There were some people online, I'm going to say. I can't say who I think he is fully, because I want this video to be aired on YouTube. But what I am going to say is the people online who said that he was a specific DC figurehead, especially now, is completely right. And again, I don't want to say the person, but let's just say he has a special little dance he does on stage. He almost gets shot, and he has a scratch on his face. It's a whole, it's clear what they're doing. Even the way Ruffalo talks and the way he holds his mouth. They even give him a tan. They even give him a tan in a couple scenes to look a little bit more like him. Again, not going to say who it is, just... you can kind of put together. And then, if you think I'm lying, if you think I am lying and I'm just... because I heard that there's this term online thrown around a lot where you're just trying to jump on like the cancel culture train. You don't care about the movie. You just want to yell about it. There is no evidence that specific DC figurehead is the person that we're trying to do. Oh, really? Look at this picture right here. These are the supporters of Ruffalo's character, who's basically a 2-time losing politician who couldn't handle his loss, so he essentially rocketed off to space with his supporters. These are his supporters. Now, Tell me you don't see something there. Again, I'm not going to say who it is. I'm just going to say, look at the picture here and tell me you can't tell who this is supposed to be. Just by, even if you don't think Ruffalo is, you'll understand Ruffalo is just by the fact of who his supporters are. Look at that. Tell me you can't tell within that one picture who it is. So anyway, and again, it really does hit you. Like when I was watching it before they introduced these people, I was like, before they introduced Ruffalo and and the group of people here that are clearly supposed to be something in real life. I mean, look at the hat. Anyway, as before I was looking at that, when I was watching it before, I was like, it's not that great. But as soon as I saw the scene of the reporter there who's holding the microphone up to that girl right there, I was like, oh, it's one of these movies. Okay. Because again, I heard all the news around it. I'm not going to lie that I didn't hear any of the news and it was a shock to me like some people tried to say. No, I'm going to admit it. It wasn't a shock to me. I just didn't know how quick and how much it would be. I had an idea, and it basically went the exact same direction you expect it to go. So, that's the thing, is that it's like, as soon as you see these people here, as soon as you see the reporter, you're like, oh, right. Like, you kind of a little bit want to forget about it, because the movie's not that great, but there's not even that much interest either, but you kind of want to give it a chance when you're watching it. And I'm sorry, as soon as I saw these people, I was already lost, okay? Because I'm not into the whole, the Rick and Morty style, infinite, interdimensional cable thing. I'm just like, because that's what this feels like. It feels like a story that Rick and Morty would have done on their interdimensional cable special. This feels like that. Or it feels like a Simpsons thing. Hell, Simpsons, Futurama, Family Guy, even Bob's Burgers writers could have probably done this better. I know the South Park ones probably could, and I'm sure the guy who made Idiocracy probably could, who made King of the Hill and Beavis and Butthead. That's the thing, is that it's like, those are actual movies. But the thing is that this just half the time feels like a movie, and the other half of the time feels like political fan fiction written by the writers. So it's just, again, like I wasn't into the whole him dying multiple times. I wasn't, because again, they showed a couple of the scenes that they want to bait. The problem now is that trailers have given up 99% of the movie now. So you're like, oh yeah, I saw that scene in the trailer. Yeah, I saw that scene in the trailer. Oh yeah, I saw that clip when the studio aired it as a sneak peek. Yeah, I saw that clip. Oh yeah, I saw that, and again, I'm not saying, they would release clips before the movie came out and be like, look at this is supposed to entice you, but they chose the wrong ones. If you wanted to really show what this movie's like, you should be showing what I'm showing right now. And then be like, this should have been the poster here. Just them with Mickey 17 on top of it. Because there is two competing movies. There really is. There's two competing movies in this. There's the Ruffalo, what he likes to tweet a lot about, and there's the actual plot of the movie. And it does, they don't mix well. They really don't. Like, it does feel like it comes to a, because again, it just does not feel like it's actually going anywhere. And then we get to, do you see the guy right there that the reporter guy isn't holding the mic to, that has like a confused look on his face? He was begging Ruffalo to get on this. He was begging him, saying, please, sir, I'll be able to do anything for you. I'll do absolutely anything for you. You know what job they end up giving him? Pigeon. They end up putting him in a pigeon costume. And if you're wondering why, I'd like to know that too. I'd love to know why he's in a pigeon costume. I watched the movie, and I don't know. And I looked it up online, because the movie wouldn't tell me. And apparently, it had something to do with corporate synergy or something, and like he's the corporate mascot or something, and it's like, first off, you're in space, and everyone in here is your supporter. You don't need a mascot. You are the mascot. If every single one of these people went to space just to support you, then you are the mascot. You don't need a pigeon man. That's what I'm going to call him now. Pigeon Man. He doesn't do anything. He just walks around Ruffalo praising him, and he's a pigeon. I don't know why. They don't tell you why. At least make up a story, like say Ruffalo at one time saw a pigeon at his first rally. And that's what made him something, you could spin some story out of that, like a pigeon pooped on him, and therefore he has to have, because he's such an egomaniac in this, he has to have a pigeon near him to know that he's more powerful than pigeons. I don't know. At least that's an explanation. It's not a good one, but at least it's an explanation. Say he had a pet pigeon, and he has some guy dressed like a pigeon to walk around him, but I don't know. Something to tell you why the pigeon guy's here. I don't know why. Is he here? It's like laughable. It's like, why is he even here? And they don't tell you. They refuse to tell you. And even online kind of lies to you about it. Like for instance, they try to say there's no creator of the cloning machine online. If you Google it online right now, it says there's no inventor of the cloning machine in this. Guess what? There is. There's a whole 2-minute scene on it. I don't know why we've decided to pretend there isn't. And then, if you really want to get to characters that aren't that great, here's Toni Collette, playing Ruffalo's wife. Unlike Ruffalo, I don't think she's doing anything to parody something in real life, but she is annoying. She really is. All the critics who said she was annoying are right. Like when they said they didn't like her, they were right. When they said they didn't like Ruffalo, they were right. I think there could have been at least a passable film had we cut both of them out and just allowed it to just be about this one guy cloning himself. You take Stephen Young out, you take these two out, and you take the pigeon guy out, obviously. The pigeon guy shouldn't have been in it in the first place. But anyway, so she is the wife. She's obsessed with like material things, because she's the rich wife. So therefore she's obsessed with material rugs and other things. And she's really obsessed with sauces. You heard me right. Sauces. And there's something she does with sauces. Okay, I'm just going to say it. Okay, so there's these alien creatures that they call creepers. Why? Well, because he said they were creepy. So therefore his wife said, call them creepers. Word for word how it's written. Google it if you don't believe me. It's literally word for word how it's written. So these creepers, quote unquote, they're basically... This is where the Avatar part I'm referring to comes from. Remember the Na'vi were these super, like they were these aliens, and then the general guy comes in to take the unobtainium from them, and then he ends up dying on this planet. Exact same thing happens. Exact same thing happens. That movie was an alien species is fighting against the humans. They're trying to take take something from them that one of the leaders wants. The creepers attack the humans who are trying to take them out to get their tails for some reason because the wife wants to make sauces out of them. I'm dead serious. I am dead serious. That is how it is written. Don't believe me. Watch the film. You will see. And again, they portray it like, well, it's just a comedy. You shouldn't care. But I think some of the best comedies have some sort of logic to them. Even like the silliest, weirdest comedies still have like a baseline logic to them. This one feels like a Rick and Morty skit in half of the time, and the other half of the time it feels like it's trying to be Snowpiercer, in that it's trying to be super dark and super complex and super... So anyway, so the creepers... And then there's a scene later. Okay, so basically one of the biggest plots of this movie is where Mickey essentially... They think he died, but then he turned out not to have, and they already cloned him. And so it's basically the fight between clones. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering where'd they get that idea from. Moon. They got it from the movie Moon. It is literally... He's literally dressed the exact same way. The sets are the exact same way. There's no difference. There's no difference at all. So that whole plot that they treat it like, oh, there's an original movie here. No, there isn't. You just stole the movie Moon. Why Wow. It's Moon mixed with Avatar. That's what it is. And when they couldn't figure out to do something, they just poured in a little bit of the mob boss plot and a little bit of the political intrigue that they thought was going to be a thing. So, why I wanted to talk about this is because I feel like it's the perfect representation of what's wrong with Hollywood, okay? And a perfect example, here's another thing. This girl here her friend died, and Ruffalo wants to mate with her in a way that is clearly supposed to be representing another DC character. Not comics, I mean DC. You know who I mean by just by that sentence I said, that he sees her as a fertile female that he's gonna keep the race going with. Don't you already in your mind know who I'm talking about without even bringing it up? Don't you already know? And again, if they made Ruffalo him, I wouldn't mind it, because there's a better satire in that. Even with the space, even with like the going up into space and doing all that, there's at least something there. There's at least when it would make sense. Here it just sounds like a random senator decided, I'm gonna commandeer a spaceship now. Okay. Kind of want to know how they let him do that. And they try to treat it like, like, I don't know. And again, I'm at least happy that this isn't one of those we killed the planet Avatar types. Like, we killed our planet, so we're trying to kill that planet. At least it's just a group of idiots flew into space and essentially just decided to start their own world. And they try a little eyedropper way to try to say that humanity is dying because we are having sandstorms. But in the end, they go back to Earth. That's the end. They go back to Earth. They don't colonize that planet. They go back to Earth. So this girl here that I'm showing here, she essentially is only here for DEI reasons. You will see. Watch the movie. You will see what I mean. And at one point she says, "What? You only see me as a uterus," to Ruffalo. And then Tony Collette has to be like, "No, we see you as more than just a uterus." And it's just like, okay. That was a great thing that had to be written. So anyway, then she immediately goes and tries to immediately sleeps. I think she ends up sleeping with, I don't know. I wasn't really paying, attention to that scene, of like Mickey and her. So maybe Mickey and her ended up sleeping together. I don't know. But from what happens later, I'm going to take a wild guess and assume probably not. So that's the thing, is that it's just so... She's an unimportant character too. She doesn't really do anything. The most she does, besides that scene there that's clearly supposed to represent who I said it was earlier, the most she does in this is she shoots at her leader to kill a creature on his face, you see. Rather than getting closer, she decides to walk across the room. Again, this is the second review in the 2 weeks. I did a review last week that was basically that exact same thing, that like the Secret Service agent was shooting at Harrison Ford for, even though there wasn't anything happening yet. Like, good. Why are they doing this shoot at your leader thing? It's not working. Because again, she just was randomly shooting at her leader because, I'm not saying randomly. There was a creeper grabbed onto his face and she was trying to shoot at it. But don't you think you should get closer and not be practically across the room shooting at him? Because again, what if you hit him? I think she ends up, this movie makes no sense. It really doesn't. There's so much that just doesn't make sense. Even the printer kind of opens up the can of worms of, wait, can't they just print the girl that died? Can't they just print her? Because they say you killed a viable female, like a fertile female. This guy says, Ruffalo says to Mickey, so he didn't kill her. You know what I mean? But like, why can't you just use the thing to print her back? Why can't you use it for everybody? And there's this thing where if you delete this hard drive thing, it essentially deletes Mickey's memories. Well, they delete it anyway, and they don't really do anything with it because they don't kill the two clones anyway. So it's kind of like, Oh well. And if you think I'm being ridiculous about the movie Moon, here's the thing. There was a movie that came out called Mute that essentially had a clip. There was a small clip from it that was essentially a sequel, cameo clip of Sam Rockwell's character from Moon. And it was a Senate hearing. They repeat this. They do this exact same thing. This exact same thing in the movie. This is this exact same thing of clones in court suing each, being in court, being in front of a judge happens in this. It happens in this, and the same, except I think Moon did it better. Except I think the movie Mute did it better, because I think at least they utilized the clones for comedy reasons. What was done here? Nothing. And sorry, I forgot her. Then there's Mickey's girlfriend. Mickey's girlfriend is a DEI casting. She was here only because to be the strong female leader of the, of the thing. You think I'm lying? Google it. She's literally they literally at the end just decide, because their version of the Supreme Court, they essentially just say their space court, because they had a mole on the spaceship, okay? That was essentially recording all the things that Ruffalo was doing on there, and essentially wanted to tell their version of Supreme Court about it. Why not tell their version of president that? But oh well. Why not tell the person in charge of that? Since when is I'm just saying, if like a Blue Origin thing goes up and something went wrong, one of the ladies on the Blue Origin thing couldn't have went to Supreme Court to yell at Blue Origin. That doesn't make sense to say that. Well, they're the thing. And again, you could tell what they're doing here. So there's a Supreme Court scene, and pretty much they just fight because it's supposed to be like real life one. I don't remember seeing knockout, drag out fights and hearings for that, but whatever, and so basically here's the thing, and she becomes the leader. She becomes the leader of the whole thing, just because why. And she's there because of they had a better idea for what was going to happen in November than anybody did. They apparently thought it was going to go a completely different route. Again, not going to go deeper because I want this YouTube channel to be monetized. So they essentially just make her the leader for real-life fan fiction reasons. Political fan fiction reasons. Again, you know why. So the thing is that this movie, you either have, this movie just feels like again, we've seen the dying thing. We've seen it. We've seen the dying multiple times thing from, in comedic ways, from Deadpool, Edge of Tomorrow, Groundhog Day, and Russian Doll. And why I want to talk about this is because it goes even deeper than this, because just like with this, so basically the movie ends where Ruffalo's character dies because one of the Mickeys blows himself up, and then at the end they decide to blow up all the cloning machines because something it's immoral, something we shouldn't have it, and they say, well, we're disbanding the program. No, duh! You got rid of the machines that are 99% of the program. Yes. Kind of be hard to have a program of cloning yourself if there's no more cloning machines. Kind of going to be hard. It's kind of like saying there shall be no more computers. Now IT workers, go work. And they'll be like, we don't have any laptops to work on. All right, maybe we should have done that. Okay. So it's just so, why I wanted to talk about this is because and then she becomes a leader at the end because she sees that Ruffalo's followers are mad, are essentially, what they would call Ruffalo's followers, because you know what they would call the real life versions of them too. So that's just the thing. And again, all I'm going to say is that. And she becomes a leader, like I said, because of political fan fiction reasons. And we basically have just that. And here's the thing with that. It's very, it's just, it's not a good movie. And then it kind of ends on an end credit fake out where it gives you, because I thought, like I just said earlier, why can't they just clone people when they had the cloning machines? Well, they essentially try to hint that maybe there's one still running, and that Ruffalo might be brought back to life, and his wife was brought back to life somehow, and it's like, then it turned out to be a dream. It turned out to be a dream. And I thought, okay, at least the writers knew they weren't going to get a sequel enough to try to lie and say that people were going to be so excited to see Ruffalo back, so excited to see Toni Collette. Apparently, Toni Collette kills herself, apparently, because she gets arrested. She couldn't handle it, so she essentially... They say it. Thank God they don't show it. Yeah, thank God. At least they have the decency enough for that. And why I wanted to talk about this is because there's a lot of Hollywood things that kind of have the same kind, like this, where all we wanted was a sci-fi movie, and they gave us Avatar, Moon, and political fan fiction. Again, like I said, the only reason that girl is a leader is because of political fan fiction around November. Only reason. And, and speaking of things that Hollywood apparently has decided for us that we want, even though we don't really want it, like they'll make a superhero movie about therapy, and they'll make a superhero have to sit in therapy for 30 minutes in the movie because, that makes a lot of sense. That's what you want to see, right? The therapy. Yeah, it's kind of like if they focused on like Batman getting a parking ticket for 40 minutes of the movie. It's like, and he's fighting it in traffic court. Oh wait, sorry, James. Sorry, I might have given away James Gunn's Batman plot. Because apparently more realistic just means, oh, there's a flying thing in here. Sorry, it was buzzing in front of the thing. Anyway, there's a little bug in here that's flying around the thing. That's what the little shadow thing was just then. So anyway, it's just, and then you get, to continue, they also decided Captain America's evil now because why not, right? That's what you want to see. Evil Captain America fight other Captain America. Good thing we saw that in Avengers Endgame where he fought himself already. So that way we get to see him fight himself again. Yay. And again, you know why they make Captain America evil. Don't lie. Don't lie and say you don't know. You know completely why they make Captain America evil. And then Superman, now his biggest weakness isn't kryptonite anymore. Google it if you don't believe me. His biggest weakness is online trolling. Are you kidding me? And see, this is the thing, is that it's like, it just, and even the style of this movie, I'm going to say, is very Snowpiercer, which makes sense, because it's the same guy who made both, and I didn't like the Snowpiercer style. I didn't like Snowpiercer that much. I know everybody's like, oh, Snowpiercer, yeah, Snowpiercer. I don't like the sci-fi movies that are dark and depressing and, and stuff. I like the more 60s Star Trek vibe, more like the kind of hopeful look to the future instead of the harsh reality. Things are getting rough. If only we hadn't done that one thing that connects to that thing that we've been bitching about online. Maybe someday we could have had a future. And even down to Thunderbolts has decided, apparently their supervillain is apparently just Superman. He's Homelander. He's essentially Homelander without the ego, apparently. And again, I haven't seen the movie yet, so maybe he's, but look at him. He looks like Homelander. And even just that, not just that, they've decided that, well, he's going to be, is he the one that sits in the therapy scene? I want to ask people who saw the movie, because I've just heard, the stuff about the movie. I haven't seen the movie yet. So the therapy scene that I've heard is definitely in there. I just want to ask, is he the one in therapy? Or because that's what you want to see from your superhero, right? To be in therapy for like 20 to 30 minutes of the movie? Yeah. Why don't we just start recording them asleep now? Why don't we just start cutting like half the movie just to have them sleep? Oh no, I might have just talked about the plot of the next Batman again. Batman. Watch him have a parking ticket. And watch him sleep half the time. It's riveting, we swear. We're real people. We know what's going on. And then, it doesn't help that the movie Mickey 17, it feels like a Rick and Morty skit, like I said before. It feels like Interdimensional Cable's skit. So it's just like, you lose all interest because it's like, of all these side plots, there's this bald guy that works with him that's essentially just supposed to be discount religious leader. Like, you could literally just say whatever religious leader you want to make him. I don't know, but I don't know. It's just, like, he just, the movie, whenever it cuts to Ruffalo, it ruins it. But the problem is, I would say that you only have to get rid of Ruffalo, but you need to purge a lot more of this movie besides Ruffalo, though. You need to purge like 80 to 90% of the script and then just start again with something new. And I'm sorry, I know the director tried to say that no, he's not the guy. He's not supposed to be that guy you think he is. Ruffalo is not that guy that I intentionally wrote him in every single way to be. Oh, really? Why does his supporters look like this then? Why does his supporters look like that? Okay. And why did we have to have, in the end, her be the president of the entire world? And again, good thing we spent most of the movie on going to go colonize another world, just to finally find out that, oh, guess what? We're not going to colonize that other world. We're not gonna. We're just not gonna. We're gonna just go back to Earth, making the whole movie pointless. They blew up the clone things. It's a good thing that was a part of the movie, because we ended up just blowing them up. I don't know why the cloning machines are the problem. I feel like just the people using it were the problem. But, it's just like... Because, again, the two people who used it for illegal reasons. Why not give it to somebody who's not going to use it for murder or killing alien species, or murder of alien species? I'm going to call them aliens. There's a scene in this where she tells you, we're the aliens. They're not. It's like, yeah, because, yeah, okay. I'm sorry. Most people are going to call them the aliens in the movie. They're going to call them that. No one's going to be like, oh, you mean the creeper things that aren't even their real names. Speaking of the creepers, there's one of the dumbest parts of this movie is where they decide that just randomly out of the blue, even though they only knew about creepers for all of, checking watch, 10 minutes. 10 minutes they've known about creepers. I guess a day, maybe a day after the 10 minutes. They knew it for 10 minutes when when the thing was attacking Ruffalo. And then I guess they might have known about a little bit more after that. But they decided, you know what, even though we don't know what these things are, we don't know what they do, and the wife of Ruffalo wants to essentially make soup out of them. Again, I know they call it sauce, but it would have made more sense to say soup. Like sauce, soup, I don't know. And again, it doesn't really feel like sauce. It just kind of, I don't know. It just feels like you're blending up their blood at that point. It doesn't really feel like it makes any, I don't know. It's just, she wants to make sauce out of them. So sure, we'll make a technology to translate it. We're going to make a translating technology that can translate with this specific alien creature, and only this specific alien creature. We're going to waste time and resources that Ruffalo has said was not in big supply. They can't waste even a little bit of calorie and a little bit of energy on certain things, yet somehow they're able to waste time and money on, time and resources on, let's make a translator for the aliens that we knew for 10 minutes, and the only other time we heard from it is when our leader said to blow them all up. So... that makes a lot of sense. So, overall, this movie just does not work. It just does not work. And then, it turns out the whole movie is just him narrating it, which, again, is very obvious it was going to be that way, because, A, he's narrating the entire movie, but B, because it keeps doing that cut to the beginning, cut to the middle, go to the beginning, cut to the end, go to the beginning. So it's like, it just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't work as a film. Ruffalo is one of the weakest links. He's the worst part of the movie, but so is Toni Collette. Unlike other critics, I'm willing to share. I'm willing to share the negativity across the whole cast. I'm willing to give it to the whole cast. I am. So, anyway, overall, Mickey 17, not a great film. I hope the next film from Bong Joon-ho is a good one. Again, I didn't see Parasite. I did see that one with the pig and Gyllenhaal, and I saw the one Snowpiercer, and I might have seen one other one. I can't remember what it was called, though, but I might have seen it. But I did not see Parasite, so hopefully his next one's better. And because if they continue to be like this, they're not going to be that great. Okay, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and thank you.